Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings film review. This video will be of the Chiefs' Week 8 victory in Las Vegas against the Raiders. They won 27-20. Thanks to all of you who are watching along here on YouTube. Thanks to you also that watch our video podcast on YouTube or download the audio version of the podcast. It's the Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings podcast, available anywhere you download podcasts. And thanks too to those of you that engage with us on social media. We're at STCF715 on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's get started with this film review. We're starting on the first drive of the game. The Chiefs started with the ball, and they have a 3rd down and 5 at the Raiders' about 25-yard line. The Chiefs come out here on this 3rd down and 11 personnel, which means they've got 1 running back and they've got 1 tight end. They've got 3 wide receivers. Justin Watson's on the outside, McCole Hardman's here in the slot, and Xavier Worthy is over here on the boundary. The Chiefs are essentially going to run like a 4 verticals kind of concept. Kelce and Hardman are going up the seams. Watson's going up, and Worthy kind of comes up, and it looks like he maybe considering coming back, but in any case, they're kind of all 4 like clearing out. And let's see how this play goes here. So Mahomes initially drops back, and he looks to be, the other guy I should have said is Perine's going out into the flat. When Mahomes drops back, he appears to be working the right side. His eyes are over here, either looking at the Hardman and Watson. And as he's coming here, if you notice, the Raiders are running like a Tampa 2, right? So they've got their 2 safeties back, and they've got the linebacker in the middle kind of dropping to the center. So the Tampa 2, and they end up with those 3 deep defenders. And this actually worked out really well against that kind of 4 verticals concept. But if you notice, as Mahomes hits the back of his drop here, it's unfortunate he was working the right side, because right as he hits the back of his drop, Kelce comes open, and the middle guy is paying more attention to Hardman. So Mahomes did, if he kind of like ripped one on a line here, it's not a huge window, and you see Kelce putting his arm up. Right here, he did have Kelce, but this, unfortunately for us, like Mahomes is starting his progressions over here, so he doesn't see it. And by the time when it's time for him to start coming across his progression, if you notice, Trey Smith struggles here they run a bit of a stunt with Creed and Trey Smith, and they struggle to pass this off. Trey Smith gets engaged, and Creed gives up a little depth to his guy, so that interior stunt ends up getting Trey Smith, and pressure comes from within. It looks like, it's kind of hard to see on this angle, we'll see on the end zone, but it looks like Trey Smith trips on probably, I think that's Max Crosby's leg right there, which is why they all fall down. But Mahomes, the reason why I'm bringing this up is Mahomes is hitting the back of his drop. He's not seeing a ton here. The safety looks like he's wide enough to affect any kind of throw to Watson, and the middle field defender is with Hardman. Kelce does pop open, but Mahomes is looking to the right, and before he can move over to the left, all this mess happens in front of him, which causes him to bail out of the pocket. As he's bailing, this is where Mahomes really, like, his magic comes into it. As he's bailing, he starts to, and he's as good as anybody at using his feet to eventually free up a passing lane. So he starts to threaten the line of scrimmage. The goal here being that he's going to get defenders to commit. Because when you're here and you've got defenders in zone, their option is to either come up and risk somebody coming behind you, or they can drop back, and Mahomes only needs to get here for the first down marker. So what ends up happening, the defenders come and respect the run, and he pops it over the top, and he kind of holds this ball for a little bit. It ended up looking kind of weird on the live camera. It's almost like he was going to throw it and then waited half a step and then popped it over the top and hit Perine here for a nice gain. Perine almost gets over to the end zone, but he gets inside the 5 to the 4 yard line. Again, these plays I think have become so routine that we take them for granted, but this is not an easy or a routine play. It's just become so commonplace for somebody like Mahomes, and he converts a big third down to get a first down in the red zone. So here's the stunt we were talking about. So in order to pass off a stunt well, right, both linemen need to be at the same depth. As you see here, Creed is behind Trey Smith. So then what happens is the defensive lineman that's trying to push off of Creed here to allow the other guy to come around, he's too deep for Trey Smith to be able to properly block as they pass this off because they're not level with each other. So Trey Smith struggles, and here you can see he trips over Max Crosby and Juwan Taylor, so he has no chance of making this block. It actually ends up working out for Mahomes because since they all go down in a heap, then Mahomes doesn't have the pressure. Well, he has the pressure, but he's able to escape. But here is Mahomes using his legs to affect these defenders. Both of them come up, respecting his legs, and he just casually pops it right over the top to get a nice conversion. And the Chiefs end up with 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line. Boop, right over the top. First down, Chiefs. We've moved on to the first play of the second quarter. At this time, the score is 7-7. The Chiefs ended the drive that we just were showing you with a touchdown. The Raiders came down and scored a touchdown, and then the Chiefs punted. So now the Raiders have the ball for a second time, score 7-7, and they got 1st and 10 at their own 35 or 36-yard line or so. The Raiders are in 11 personnel. They've got the 1 running back and the 1 tight end. And they've just motioned Jacoby Myers over from the left to the right side of the formation. They are going to run this route combination here. Actually, I think they've got, now that I put this here, I think they've got 2 tight ends. I think this is Brock Bowers. So this is actually 12 personnel. 1 running back, and they've got 2 tight ends. Anywho, Bowers is going to run a corner pattern. Jacoby Myers is going to run an out. And I believe number 11's name is Tucker, is going to run a dig route over here. And let's look at how the Chiefs are going to blitz. And so look at how the Chiefs are crowding the line of scrimmage. And this is very important because of what it does to the protections. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that the offensive line is going to have to account for. And so the way that they kind of set it up then is you think about it this way, that the tight end over here, he ultimately leaks out into the flat, but he's got to have first eyes on Drew Tranquill. And then the running back Madison can come up and help. So that'll leave the left tackle over here on Malik Herring. The left guard is going to have Pennell. The center has to keep track of Bolton because you definitely can't, if Bolton blitzes, you can't have someone coming free right down the middle. So center is going to look at Bolton. The right guard is going to look at Chris Jones. The right tackle at Karlaftis. And the free guy is going to be Shenault. So typically teams in their protection schemes want to leave someone free on an end. Right, one of the end guys free because they have the longest path to the quarterback. You don't want someone from the middle to be running free. So this is how they set it up, and Bolton actually ends up not blitzing. You can see he drops back and helps in the coverage. But because the center is accounting for Bolton, that means that the right tackle has to continue. Because theoretically, with Bolton not blitzing, they have enough guys to block everything now. But the right tackle doesn't have time to look over and see if Bolton is blitzing, and then they change the scheme on the fly. You know, the right tackle, based on their protection call, is going to block Karlaftis, so they're going to let Shenault run free. But they know this, right? They know that Shenault's going to run free because that's how the protection is set up, assuming this blitz. So Minshew then is going to have like a hot read that he's going to be ready to throw to, right? Because they know they're going to have a free rusher. He can't be holding onto the ball. So they have a plan. So they rush and Shenault comes in. But the problem is that his hot guy is Jacoby Myers over here, and Shenault is right in the passing lane. And if you can see, Shenault does a great job as he comes in of breaking down instead of just charging at Minshew and laying a hit on him, which potentially could give Minshew the chance to just toss this out there and give his receiver a chance. Shenault breaks down right here and makes himself big. He wants to get in the passing lane. He's preparing to jump. And so Minshew doesn't feel like he can get the ball off because he's got a guy screaming right in the passing lane of his hot receiver. So he just tucks it and tries to make anything happen and runs right to Tranquill, who gets credited for the sack. But this again is the kind of pre-snap machinations of the Chiefs, Spagnuolo and the Chiefs. They've got 7 people here, which helps Shenault come free, and Shenault happens to come free right in the passing lane to the guy that Minshew wants to throw hot to, and Shenault does a great job. Actually, his name is pronounced Chanel. I've got to stop saying it wrong. Chanel does a really great job of getting in that passing lane and not allowing a throw to come off. So really good play all around from the Chiefs defense, results in a sack. And here you can see it again. And you can see how they end up having to come. So the Chiefs kind of overload things on this side. But ultimately, this is how it ends up being assigned in the protection. You get him. You look at Bolton. You get Chris Jones. You get Karlaftis. And he's coming off free. And so Minshew's ready. If you look, he comes off. He's looking at his hot guy, but Leo Chanel gets right in the passing lane, makes it so Minshew feels like he can't get that throw off, and he gets taken down for a sack. We've now got 7:40 to go in the second quarter, and the Chiefs are down 10-7. And they've got a 2nd and 2, and they're just inside Vegas territory, around the 47-yard line. Now, the Chiefs come out in a 2 tight end set. So this is 12 personnel. Well, actually, this is a wide receiver. This is McCole Hardman. So I guess this would technically be 0-2 personnel. There are no running backs. And there are 2 tight ends. 1, 2. So this would be the rarely seen 0-2 personnel. And there are 3 wide receivers. Hardman. This is Montrell Washington, a practice squad wide receiver called up, and this is Xavier Wiley. Okay, and so the Chiefs are going to run a variation of a very common play that they've run. It's the power shovel. And so they run this out of tons of different orientations, sometimes with having the running back take the shovel pass, sometimes having a tight end take a shovel pass, and there's usually another concept put onto it. I actually don't recall, at least recently, seeing them run it like this. So they basically, what happens is they're going to leave the overhang defender unblocked. They always do in this situation, and that's the read for the quarterback. So in this case, it's the corner Nate Hobbs here. So they're going to block here, down, block, and Trey Smith is going to come out and pull. And Travis Kelce follows Trey Smith. Okay, so again, Wanya Morris is going to get this end. You've got Tooney getting this tackle. You've got Creed getting this tackle, and you've got Juwan Taylor getting Max Crosby on the end. Trey Smith is pulling. Travis Kelce is coming behind, and he would be the intended recipient for a shovel pass. Now, at the same time, remember, we are not blocking the overhang defender, which is Nate Hobbs in this situation. Noah Gray is coming out to block here, and Worthy's coming out to block here because based on what the overhang defender does, Mahomes has 2 options. If the overhang defender were to come in and crash hard and kind of mess up the guard's ability, now I doubt Nate Hobbs, the corner, would do that, but just mess up the guard's ability to get through and lead this, or even like disrupt this potential shovel in any way. So basically Mahomes would read, if this guy comes in, you hand this to McCole Hardman on a jet sweep, and now this defender wouldn't be in the picture in this scenario, and so you basically have a 2-on-2 blocking with a jet sweep out to the side, and McCole would essentially have to beat Spillane to the corner. But if Nate Hobbs comes down like he did here, then Mahomes' move is to pitch the shovel to Kelce. And so you see shovel here, Kelce then follows Trey Smith, and then ends up picking a big guy in here of 11 yards off the shovel. But you'll have seen the Chiefs will do this, out of many orientations. The things that kind of is the same throughout in the power shovel version. Again, they don't always do a power shovel, but when they do this specific play, the same thing is they've got the guard pulling and they're leaving the overhang defender. In this case, it's Nate Hobbs. And that's the read. But the action out here could be like a pass action. It's not necessarily always in fact, I don't remember the last time that it was a read with like just a handoff to a jet sweep like this. Sometimes they'll have the back just go to the flat and the read is like a pass to the flat, and they'll have like a full like passing concept. So it ends up being like an RPO kind of thing where if the defender comes down, then you go to the shovel. If the defender crashes into the shovel, then Mahomes has some passing options out on this side. That, to me, is the most common way I remember it run, and the most famous way you might remember is this is actually what they did on the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. They ran a power shovel concept inside, but Nick Bosa, it was on the right side this time, but Nick Bosa crashed in, and so Mahomes threw it to the passing concept to Mecole Hardman on the outside, and they scored the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. In this case, they get a crash down, so he doesn't hand it. He shovels it over to Kelce, who gets a big gain of 11 yards and a first down. But it was nice to see a new kind of wrinkle, this one being the Hardman jet sweep. I don't remember ever seeing the kind of jet sweep zone read, So it's not even, I don't even know that you can call it as jet sweep because he's not like coming from the other side. This is just like a handoff to the outside to Mecole Hardman. Nice little wrinkle there. But again, you can see the concept. Who they're leaving is overhang defender. So Wanye blocks here. He blocks here. Tooney. Creed is blocking down here. And Jawan Taylor's blocking here. Trey Smith is pulling. Kelce is following. So here we go. And this is where, as Mahomes, the decision point is based on what this guy does. Mahomes doesn't actually seem to be looking over there. I feel like maybe because, it's interesting. I mean, I wonder if it's because the defender that they've left is a defensive back. If you leave the defensive end, then I think for sure he's looking over and making the play based on him. But I wonder if because he's got the defensive end blocked, you're not really expecting a DB to come in and crash in. So I wonder if Mahomes is just going shovel all the way here. But this is the other option, and this is Mecole's action here is what kind of holds this defensive back and prevents him from getting involved in the shovel concept. As you see now, he's chasing it from behind because he had to respect the sweep. But in theory, if this guy comes down, what the move is to hand the ball here, and he's got Noah Gray leading the charge along with Worthy to block over there. In this case, the shovel is there. They pass it off. 11-yard gain and a first down. To 5:16 to go in the second quarter, and the Chiefs have a 3rd and 6. They're still down 10-7 at this point, faced with another third down. And the Chiefs come out here in 12 personnel. So they got their one running back, Samaje Perine, and they've got Noah Gray and Travis Kelce, 2 tight ends right there, which gets you 12 personnel. Their wide receivers are Justin Watson on the outside and Xavier Worthy here. And so what the Chiefs are going to run, they're going to have Watson running out. Kelce is going to go up the seam, and Noah Gray is going to run an underneath like flat route. Xavier Worthy on the backside of this play is going to come in and run an in-cut dig route here. And Perine is going to swing out. Now look at what the Raiders are doing. The Raiders are all kind of mugged up at the line here. So they're showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line. Nobody in the middle. They've got one safety back. So this kind of looks like, well, this looks a lot like cover one man, right? Looks like everybody's manned up here. We got one deep safety. But look at how the Raiders rotate after the snap. They get 3 bailing out, including the defensive end, and they get the slot guy to blitz. So it actually ends up being a simulated pressure. They only send 4, and everyone bailing out, it actually ends up being just a standard cover 2. This is one safety, and there's the other safety deep over here. So it goes from looking like cover 1 man to being a cover 2 zone. And so Mahomes will have to, adjust here, change expectations about who's going to come open and where. And to make matters worse, as he's hitting the back of his drop, Wanya Morris is getting walked back by Max Crosby around the edge, and so Mahomes ends up having to get out of trouble. Now, one could argue that the highest level play right here would be at this point to try to step up into the pocket, but the problem is Juwan Taylor is also losing ground here. So he's getting beat around the edge, he's getting beat through. So this is really collapsing on Mahomes, and I can understand him not having a lot of faith in the integrity of the pocket. Theoretically, this could have worked if at this moment he just hopped up into here, but this is a tough spot to be in. And when both of your tackles are giving up ground, it kind of makes sense to bail. And Mahomes ends up bailing over here to the left, which is too bad because if this pocket had held up, Worthy does a great job uncovering here in the middle of the field. I love the way he found a soft spot in the zone and just settled. This is a tight window, right? Because that will converge as Mahomes throws it. But Noah Gray makes himself available. Really, the guy who does the best job of uncovering here is Worthy. But Noah Gray coming out. So if you look at what Mahomes would have been able to do if this pocket held up right here, this is an option, or once if he made it back to the backside. If he didn't like that, it is, Gray does settle somewhat close to Spillane. If he doesn't like it there, he could have waited a beat for Worthy to uncover, but he didn't have time for that because the pocket was collapsing, so he got out to his left. And this again is where Mahomes is so good at using his feet to get guys open. So he challenges the line of scrimmage, and as Spillane starts to commit to the run, he just flips it over to Noah Gray and gets a first down. Running with passing in mind is just a great trait that Mahomes has, and his timing and the way he comes up and challenges the line of scrimmage to make defenders commit is so good, and gets the Chiefs a first down here and gets them close to the red zone. And we can see this from this view here. So see, Mahomes is reading off to the left, and look at Morris getting beat around the edge. And then Juwan Taylor, Tyree Wilson is just pushing him right into Mahomes' lap. So he doesn't feel like he's got any room and has to bail. And look at how he, running at these guys is what ultimately gets Spillane to commit. Spillane is looking, then he commits. Gives him a window to just flip it over to Gray. That's another big first down on a third down conversion. 1:57 to go in the second quarter, under the 2-minute warning, and the Chiefs have 3rd and goal at the 5-yard line. They're still trailing 10-7. They are in 13 personnel. So they've got the one running back, Kareem Hunt, and on the right side, they're going to have all 3 tight ends, Travis Kelce, Jody Fortson, and then Noah Gray, who's coming over and getting set. Their one wide receiver is DeAndre Hopkins, isolated on the left side of the formation. So what they're going to do, Hopkins is going to run a slant. Fortson is going to run out to the back of the end zone. Kelce is going to slant in this way. And Noah Gray actually is going to kind of wheel out, and it looks like he is getting ready to block in case Mahomes throws to the flat to Kareem Hunt. And the Raiders end up just running a zone coverage ultimately, principle-wise, it ends up being kind of like a quarters coverage. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys who kind of will drop back and be responsible for their parts in the end zone. So this is one situation where the first thing I'd draw your attention to is Hopkins wins immediately off the line. So this is a great sign for Chiefs fans. He can win quickly in the red zone. If Mahomes happened to be reading the left side of this play first, he's got that pass into Hopkins and he scores a touchdown there. Mahomes is reading the right side of the play first, and he's reading Kelce. And you can tell this is one of those where it's like, this was 3rd and goal, and we really need to score here. We're losing. I don't want to come out of this with a field goal. I'm just going to fire a missile into the guy that I trust the most. Because look at the underneath linebackers here. He's got Spillane right there. Like, this is a very tight window, and look at him just fire this in there. Like, that's a tight window. He just put everything he had on that, put a ton on that ball, got it right in the gap there for a touchdown. But this was just like, if I have any opening, I'm just firing a missile into Kelce and let's get that touchdown. And that's what he did. Incidentally, it ended up being Kelce's first touchdown of the season. So here we can see it again. Remember, Gray is going to wheel off. Fortson is going to come up, and Kelce will come from off the screen this way. Here's the snap. Kelce comes in. Mahomes is like, if I have an opening, I'm going to do it. He has a tiny gap. Look at that. Boom. Tight window throw. Gets it in there for the touchdown. And the Chiefs take the lead and will not relinquish it for the rest of the game. All right, we now have 1:11 to go in the second quarter, and the Raiders have a 3rd and 8 at their own 32-yard line. Now they are trailing 14-10. The Chiefs had just come down and taken the lead. And the Raiders are trying to convert 3rd down here and hopefully get down to score before half. The Raiders are in 11 personnel. They got 1 running back. And we've got Brock Bowers out here, their tight end. And the Chiefs are in dime. So that means they've got 6 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And their 1 linebacker is Nick Bolton here. As he does on these crucial 3rd downs, Spagnuolo again comes in and starts confusing the blocking scheme. So again, let's check out what he's got here. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are threatening to blitz. And so those 6 people, the line is going to have to figure out how to account for in their protections. So how they end up doing it, they've got the right tackle for Uzomah, the right guard for Chris Jones, the center has Nick Bolton, the left guard has Turk Wharton, the left tackle has Karlaftis, and the running back is going to insert in protection to get Shamari Connor. But as we've seen time and time again, it's not exactly how it's going to play out. What ends up happening is that Bolton and Felix Uzomah end up dropping out. So that means the right tackle's person and the center's person are not actually coming. Chris Jones ends up challenging the right tackle over here, so the center and guard are left blocking air. Connor comes in through the gap, and he's blocked by the running back, but the added wrinkle is that Trent McDuffie sneaks in late, and he's actually out wide. He's not even coming from the slot here, and he blitzes late, so the line had never accounted for him, so he ends up coming through free. The problem for the Raiders, in addition to, Trent McDuffie being a great blitzer, timing his blitz and coming in free, based on how Spags was able to manipulate the protections, their route combination is such that they have a drag, and they have Bowers coming in, and from over here they have an out route. So they have 3 of their 4 routes are going to the left side of the offense, and Jacoby Myers ends up running a corner route Oh, I drew them wrong. Sorry. This is the corner. I assigned the routes to the wrong people. We've got the dig and we have the drag. But in any case, the point still stands. We've got 3 routes from the Raiders that are going in this direction. And the one that is going deep is a long developing corner route. Well, when McDuffie comes in free and Minshew sees it, he bails to his right. And look, Minshew's bailing right. This receiver's coming this way. This receiver's coming this way. This receiver's coming this way. So, and this is a long developing route that is not ready for him yet, and he's got Trent McDuffie chasing him down. So Minshew runs to his right and essentially has no one to throw to and has to throw it away. So this all started with the kind of messing with the protections and then McDuffie doing a great job disguising his blitz and coming in late. And as he gets in, the routes are set up so nobody's running to an advantageous position for Minshew to throw to, and he ends up just having to throw it away to avoid a sack. We can see it from here. Again, let's go over the protections real quick. He's got him. Center's got Bolton. Guard's got Wharton. Tackle's got Karlaftis. And Connor is the one that's being accounted for by the running back here. Then at the snap, Bolton and Uzomah bail. Chris Jones comes to the tackle. So we've got 2 guys on this side doing nothing. Connor with the back, and then look at McDuffie come in free. He was not accounted for. He comes in free, and Minshew, if you look from his perspective, he's got nowhere to throw it. He's got outside leverage here. Bowers recognizes what's happening and tries to turn around and be available, but McDuffie's coming too fast for that. And we got an incomplete pass on 3rd down. The Chiefs get the ball back. The last thing that I wanted to shout out was Felix Uzomah. Again, I love it that when these guys come out, Bolton does this a lot too. When you've got the drag route inside 5 yards, you're allowed to contact the receiver. So Uzomah just nails him, jars him off the route. Not that it matters in this play, but I just feel like that's high IQ football. When these guys have drag routes that are coming through their zones within 5 yards, just shove the receiver. You're allowed to hit him at that point. In any case, Chiefs get the ball back with just over a minute left in the second quarter. They're up 14-10. 6:57 to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs are up 17-10, and the Raiders have the ball. Chiefs deep in Chiefs territory. They've got a 3rd and goal here at about the 8-yard line. And if you'll remember, this was after a real poor sequence of events from the Chiefs, who started out backed up. They had a couple holding penalties. Wanya Morris started really struggling with Max Crosby. We already saw that on one of the earlier plays we showed you. He got a couple holding penalties. The Chiefs punted, and then Joshua Williams had a stupid late hit penalty or like unnecessary roughness penalty where he rode Raider out of bounds, and then once out of bounds, definitely tried to pull him down way after the whistle. I think it was I don't know what he was thinking. I don't think he threw him down as forcefully as it initially looked, but it's definitely a penalty. I don't know what he was doing. So the Chiefs really tried their hardest to self-destruct. Then they actually got a stop on 3rd down, and Joshua Williams got a holding penalty. So the Chiefs went from having the ball up 17-10 in the third quarter to giving the Raiders the ball with great field position and having a penalty that extended their drive. They now got to 3rd and goal at the 8-yard line. So the Raiders here are in 12 personnel. They've got 1 running back and they've got 2 tight ends. That's 1, 2. And the Chiefs have matched this. They look to be in their nickel. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. Yeah, the Chiefs are in the nickel. And they appear to have Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill on the field as their 2 linebackers. So what the Raiders try to do, they end up with a route combination from the bunch. They got Myers coming here. Tucker, I think his name is Tucker. I should check who number 11 is. And then Bowers go into the flat. And you can see Minshew trying to read over there. I guess I wonder what he initially wanted. Because when he looks here, I mean, he does have Bowers in the flat, but I guess he's thinking about the fact that this is 3rd and goal, and so I'm not just going to immediately take the flat here, try to find something toward the end zone. But unfortunately for him, Karlaftis over here is being blocked by a tight end, and they have the running back come over to try to help. But the tight end is no match for Karlaftis right here, as he's able to get his hands engaged, push off quickly, and get around the edge. Then when the running back's coming to help, like, you can tell this is just too difficult of an assignment to block someone as strong and agile. And they're not able to kind of figure it out together. And Karlaftis just swats by him quite easily, actually, and gets to Minshew for a big sack here on 3rd down. But it's also interesting. Minshew, if you look, he looks over here, which is where all of his receivers that go out on patterns are. He doesn't like it initially, and then he comes and looks at the middle. I don't know what he's looking at. What's he looking for when he comes back and looks to the middle? Unless he's expecting this, or I don't know. I'm not really sure what he's coming and looking back to the middle for. But he doesn't get a ton of time to do whatever it is that he wants to do, because Karlaftis gets on him really quickly after that, picks up the sack. You can see it again from this perspective. Karlaftis just engages and gets around quickly, and the running back is just not equipped. It's Amir Abdullah. He's just not equipped to handle this kind of guy screaming off the edge here. He kind of tries to get in the way. I think he thinks that Karlaftis maybe is going to take a little wider of a path, and he gets surprised when Karlaftis cuts in and tries to just get him with an arm, which isn't going to do anything. Karlaftis just pushes right off his shoulder and gets to Minshew. But again, remember, like, Minshew looks over here, right, which is where all 3 of his receivers are, and then he looks back. I almost wonder, is he looking at the rush, or maybe if Karlaftis hadn't beaten him this badly, this guy would have leaked, but then you're trusting Abdullah to block him, so I'm kind of confused what he's looking for over here. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The pocket collapses very quickly, and Karlaftis gets a sack. All right, we're at 5:49 to go in the 3rd quarter. The Chiefs have 1st and 16 at their 2-yard line. And I first want to say that I apologize. I got my Chiefs shooting themselves in the foot sequence wrong. I mentioned on the last play that the Chiefs had ruined their previous drive with multiple holding calls by Wanya Morris. That was wrong. That's actually this drive. This is why the Chiefs are in 1st and 16 at their own 2-yard line. The previous drive that I had been referencing was actually the drive that was messed up by a drop by Travis Kelce, followed by, I guess, technically a drop by Xavier Worthy, but it was a real tough contested catch that he wasn't able to bring in with coverage from Jack Jones. So that was what blew that drive. The unnecessary roughness penalty from Joshua Williams did happen, and the holding call that I talked about also did happen, but the holding, those on Joshua Williams, the holding calls on Wanya Morris did not happen. They happened here on this drive, and that's why the Chiefs are in 1st and 16 at their own 2-yard line. The Chiefs come out in 11 personnel. They've got 1 running back. They've got 1 tight end. It's Travis Kelce. The wide receivers over here, it's kind of hard to see that far. It looks like that's Watson. Or that looks like Watson. That looks like Worthy, and this is DeAndre Hopkins. And so the Chiefs end up just running. Oh, actually, that's Noah Gray. So I was wrong. The Chiefs are not in 11. They're in 12 personnel. They have 2 tight ends. The Chiefs end up running like a 3 verticals concept. So Kelce goes up the seam. Hopkins goes up the boundary. Worthy goes up the boundary. And Gray ends up just coming out to the flat. And the Raiders, though it initially looks like they're running a single high, like maybe a single high man or at least some kind of single high coverage, this is actually cover 2, just a standard cover 2 zone, and they're running a Tampa 2, so they have 2 deep guys, and Spillane ends up running the middle. It's Tampa 2. And as you can see here, Mahomes is right here rearing up to throw. And he's clearly targeting Kelce. And my guess is he's trying to put the throw somewhere out here in the middle of the field to have Kelce run under it. And the more I see this, the more I feel like this would have been very exciting. It would have been really interesting to see. I think this is a good decision to throw this ball. The two safeties are out wide. Spillane's not going to be able to run with Kelce if he puts the ball deep right down. I mean, you're hoping he doesn't like keep it up the seam and put it somewhere right there, but rather right here so the safety doesn't have a chance to come in and drive on it. But we'll never know where he was trying to throw it exactly, because at the snap here, Trey Smith gets walked back by the defensive tackle here right into Mahomes' lap. And as he's trying to make this throw, you can kind of see it here. The defensive tackle, see that little bit right there, that's his hand. Actually gets a hand on the ball as Mahomes is trying to throw it, and it pops right up in the air, making a very easy interception for Trayvon Merrick. He only has to contend with linemen on the return, but they are able to get him down. I guess he has to contend with Mahomes too. They are able to get him down right around the 3-yard line, which those of you who remember the game ended up being crucial because the Chiefs ended up with a goal line stand here. The Raiders had 4 plays and were not able to get it in the end zone. But let's look at this interception one more time from the end zone cam. So again, the issue here is Trey Smith ended up getting walked back. And you can see it here. There's the defender's hand right there. He gets a hand right on the ball, which pops it right up and makes for a very easy interception. And you can see here, look at the angle of Mahomes' helmet. Like he's looking in this direction. So it seems pretty clear he was trying to throw this to Travis Kelce. And it'd be interesting to see where he would have put that ball and what would have happened if it wasn't tipped. But unfortunately, it was and intercepted. And at this point, the Chiefs were only up 17-13. So the Raiders had a great shot to take the lead. Unfortunately, they were, for them, very nicely for the Chiefs, they were not able to. The Chiefs had a goal line stand. Again, the Chiefs got the ball inside the 5-yard line, somewhere they were not so good at moving the ball from in this game. And really historically haven't been as good under the kind of Reid Mahomes era. Sometimes they get too conservative, or it's almost like they just really get in their heads when they're inside their own 10-yard line, and I feel like they end up punting a lot. But anyway, this was an unfortunate play. It would have been nice to see what would have happened if that ball had not been tipped at the line. Got 29 seconds to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs still holding on to a 17-13 lead. And they've got a 3rd and 4 at about their 25-yard line. The Chiefs are out here in 12 personnel. They've got the 1 running back, Perine, and they've got 2 tight ends, Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. Their 2 wide receivers are Xavier Worthy and Justin Watson. So what the Chiefs are going to try to run on this play, they're going to have Worthy come run like a drag route over the middle. They're going to have Noah Gray come in and run an out route. Kelce is going to come and run an over. And Justin Watson's going to clear out. The Raiders do a good job with their simulated pressure here. They've got 6 people up on the line, so that's 6 people that have to be accounted for by the Chiefs. And the person that the Chiefs protection decides to let go through and be blocked by the running back is Robert Spillane here in the middle. So they're going to have Taylor with Crosby, 2, 3, Creed out here, 4, 5. They let Spillane through and have Perine come in. And why that's important is that Perine coming in initially, Spillane manages to get Mahomes off his spot. And the Raiders, too, have simulated pressure, so they actually, this guy and this guy end up not rushing. And so they kind of leave Creed and Tooney unoccupied. And what Creed and Tooney do is they kind of go look for other work. They look for something to do. The problem is that this guy especially hangs around right at the line of scrimmage, and so as Mahomes steps up to avoid Spillane, he's got a free shot now at Mahomes because Humphrey and Tooney have turned out, and so Mahomes doesn't have time. He has to get this ball out quickly. That's unfortunate because if Mahomes had held it a little bit longer, he had been able to. Travis Kelce comes completely uncovered when Nate Hobbs falls down. So if Mahomes had been able to hold this ball, which it was just not possible in this play the way it worked out, Mahomes had to get it out. And by all intents, it really does look, by any way you look at it, that he's trying to throw this to Xavier Worthy. I try to be charitable and see do you think maybe he was trying to throw this to Noah Gray, but I really don't think so. He's trying to throw this ball to Xavier Worthy, which this is tough. Worthy's running at this angle away, and he's got a defender right in his hip pocket. And Mahomes tries to put it out in front of him. Worthy gets a hand on it, but fortunately for the Chiefs, it gets tipped right to Noah Gray, who makes the catch for the first down. They say sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and I remember hearing that on Chiefs broadcast. Specifically, Len Dawson would say that sometimes on the Chiefs radio broadcast. It's sometimes better to be lucky than good, and in this case, got the ball out there, tipped off a Worthy. Noah Gray makes a great catch, great heads-up play, and the Chiefs get a first down. But I don't think... So here, let's look at the pressure again. So again, we've got to count for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he's the guy that they're going to let in. And Perine's got to pick him up. But Spillane did a good enough job getting in there that Mahomes got put off his spot. And then watch Tooney and Creed, because what ends up happening is he drops out and he drops out. So Tooney and Creed initially don't have any work. The guy they thought they were going to block are gone. So what they end up doing is they end up turning laterally, and Creed especially, he turns laterally, and this guy just stays. So then Mahomes steps up, and now this guy's got a free run at him. So Mahomes sees Worthy on the crosser, and so this is where he decides to go with the ball, and he actually ends up taking a shot on this play. Bam! He takes a big hit. But he tries to get it out to Worthy, and Worthy can't quite make the catch, but look at Noah Gray, Johnny on the spot. Great concentration to bring that in and get the Chiefs a big first down. Remember, at this point, they're only up 4, so converting here was huge. In the fourth quarter, they're 12:44 to go. Chiefs still up 17-13, and they have a 3rd and 12 at about their 44-yard line. The Chiefs come out here, and they're in 12 personnel. They're in 11 personnel. They've got the 1 running back and the 1 tight end. So 11 personnel, and their 3 wide receivers here are Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, and Montrell Washington. And what the Chiefs end up running, they've got a drag route here. Washington ends up going up the seam, and Watson ends up running a dig across the middle. Kelce ends up trying to run an out and up as the ISO guy over here. The Raiders end up running cover 2 man. So they've got a deep safety here, and then they're just manned up across the board. Man to man, man to man, man to man, man to man. Now as Mahomes drops back, he's looking for something here. He notices that the end over here ends up crashing inside against Wanya Morris. And oftentimes when teams have done that to Mahomes in the past, and this is the case here, they have somebody crash in to try to get him to bail out, and then they get somebody looping around to be ready for him when he tries to escape the pocket. This is a tendency that I think this year the Chargers were using it a lot, and it was causing Mahomes trouble. But Mahomes actually pretty deftly steps up, and a lot of credit to Joe Tooney for recognizing it too. So they were ready as they kind of spiked Wanya Morris inside, and then Mahomes bailed to his left. Then as the guy came looping, Tooney was there to try to run with him, and Mahomes ended up stepping up through it. And then, if you notice, against cover 2 man, the 2 safeties are deep, and Montreal Washington does a good job of holding them deep. Everybody else is not looking at the quarterback. Everybody's looking at their man. And all these routes are coming to this side of the field. Kelce's over here. We got the flat here, and Washington's going deep. So there's this gigantic swath of space. And so now that Mahomes was able to get out, with Tooney's help, to get out of the kind of rush plan, which was to, again, spike someone in, get somebody around, and the hope was this guy would be right there to take Mahomes down as he came out. Now that he's stepped up through that, he's got tons of real estate and is able to convert for a 14-yard run on 3rd and 12. And he always just seems fast enough. Just fast enough. It almost felt like he kind of let up toward the end there. I wonder why. Maybe not. But in any case, he gets a big first down there. So we can see it here. Watch the rush plan. Watch what they're trying to do. They're going to push Morris in, and it doesn't look like he's actually trying to rush the quarterback at all. He's just going right inside. And then 20 is waiting for that and coming around. He's looping around to try to get Mahomes. But look at Tooney do a great job of sticking with him. And Mahomes sneaks up inside it. This might be the Chiefs' answer for this going forward. Like, this might be completely intentional. Like, this might have been their plan in this scenario, because this is definitely not the first time they've seen this from a team. So maybe the idea is they're going to try to have the guards be more cognizant about staying around with a looper. And Mahomes is able to step up inside and then run for the first down. Again, always seems to make really critical plays with his legs. Chiefs keep the chains moving, up by 4 in the fourth quarter. All right, so we've got 8:06 to go in the game. The Chiefs are now up 20-13. They kicked a field goal on their last drive. So the Raiders are driving down 7 with 8:06 to go in the game. And they are faced with a 2nd and 3 at about their 34-yard line. They are in an interesting, I guess you would call this 13 personnel. They've got 1 running back. They've got 2 tight ends. And this is an offensive tackle that is reported eligible. So we'll consider him a tight end. So what it seems like the Raiders have done here is they brought in an extra tackle. They went really heavy to try to get the Chiefs in base personnel. And now they're trying to line up in an exotic formation to try to get the Chiefs, who, since they have 3 linebackers on the field, usually when you have a team that has 2 tight ends and an extra tackle, you're expecting them to run the ball or to be in kind of that jumbo running formation. So I think the Raiders tried to get the extra linebacker on the field from the Chiefs and then line up in a passing situation and try to take advantage. Even more so, they try to spread him out by getting Amir Abdullah out here. However, Spags is not someone to be trifled with. And he, as I mentioned on our podcast that came out, Chris and I recorded that today, and it's up on YouTube right now. The Chiefs this year, one of the new things about them is that they don't just do their crazy stuff out of the nickel and dime anymore. They are willing, Spags is willing to get into his bag from base personnel. And I don't think the Raiders were ready for this. It was one of those where the Raiders thought they were being clever and they got spagsed. And so here the Chiefs are in their base personnel. 2nd and 3, it's not usually an exotic down for Spags. He's usually looking at 2nd and long and especially 3rd down situations for his crazy blitzes. But what does he do? He sends Bolton and Chanel through the same gap, right at the snap. And the protection isn't ready for it. They end up picking up Chanel and letting Bolton through, but Minshew is not at all prepared for something to be going on this down and distance. It's a real tendency breaker from base personnel to be sending a blitz on 2nd and 3. So Minshew bails, and Mike Pennell is ready. Mike Pennell sees he's always had really great awareness when, people are moving around in the pocket. Pennell disengages, and he hits Minshew and ends up forcing a fumble, which is recovered by Drew Tranquill, and the Chiefs get a big turnover in the fourth quarter. But it all started with Spags. You think you're being clever, you bring out that tackle, you try to spread everybody out. Well, we've got Spags spread out in the base. All right, well, Spags will send 2 blitzers right here over the guard, get one free in the middle, and as Minshew tried to escape, he fumbled, and the Chiefs get a big turnover. Spags is going to Spags. So we'll see it here again. Look, they're not really showing anything right now, and then ultimately they're going to get Chanel and Bolton to blitz in the same gap here. And Pennell does a great job coming off, getting the fumble, and the Chiefs have a huge turnover here, up 7 into the fourth quarter. On our final play of this film review of the Chiefs-Raiders game, the Chiefs have the ball here with 4:59 to go in the fourth quarter. They're up 20-13, and they've got 2nd and goal just inside the 10-yard line. The Chiefs come out in 11 personnel. They've got the 1 running back, Kareem Hunt, their tight end, Travis Kelce, and their 3 wide receivers over here in the bunch are Justin Watson, McCole Hardman, and Xavier Worthy. So Hardman ends up coming inside, and they run the following route combination. Hardman comes up and out. Watson comes up to run a pick and then come up, and then Worthy will come and release outside, take the pick. They end up rolling the pocket, so Mahomes takes the snap and rolls left, and everybody kind of seals and blocks left. But here, these are the guys you really want to watch here. So Justin Watson comes up, look at him stop, chop his legs, set the pick right there, and that's an easy touchdown. And Trent Green on the broadcast really made the key point here, which is that the reason why this isn't offensive pass interference is because Watson never turns into the defender. Watson keeps his orientation, his shoulders forward. He doesn't turn, and so the defender hits him in the side. They will not call offensive pass interference in that scenario. In this case, if you're facing forward, you're considered to be running your route. You're not going in and blocking somebody. So nicely run pick concept by the Chiefs, and they get a touchdown that essentially ends the game. This puts them up 27-13 with under 5 minutes to go in the game. You can see the blocking concept. It's just a quick rollout for Mahomes, roll out and fire. Worthy gets another touchdown. Chiefs go up 27-13, and the Raiders would come down. The Chiefs essentially just started playing 2 deep shells, simple coverages, letting them come down the field and run out time. They ended up coming down and scoring a touchdown right about the 2-minute warning, and then the Chiefs recovered the onside kick and ran out the clock from there with a 27-20 victory. Well, thanks again for those of you that watched along here, and thank you for those who follow all our content on the YouTube channel, including the Steeler Thoughts Chief Feelings podcast. The audio version of that podcast is available wherever you download podcasts. And thanks again to those of you who follow along on social media. We're at STCF715 on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. On Twitter, especially after Chiefs and Steeler games, we try to put up some clips and discuss big plays from each game. So we love the engagement there. Thanks so much for following along. Until next time.